I watched him raise his glass at the reception, a smug look plastered on his face as he clinked it against hers. I'd invited him, of course. I wanted him to see it all. Welcome to Cheating Story Exposed. Real stories, real justice, no sugarcoating. You know what? I notice many of you watching haven't hit that subscribe button yet. Here's the thing, we drop stories like this every single day. Stories about people who got played, got smart, and got even. If you want to see how these situations really end, subscribe now and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. My name is David, and I'm a man who learned that revenge isn't a dish best served cold. It's a meticulously planned 5-course meal with wine pairings. It all started with a text message. "Living my best life," it read, sent from a beach in the Maldives. My then-wife, Sarah, we'd been married for 7 years. 7 years of building a life together, or so I thought. I was a financial analyst, not rolling in dough, but comfortable. We had a nice house, 2 cars, talked about kids. Normal. Then, seemingly overnight, she changed. She started working late, claiming new responsibilities at her marketing firm. She became distant, less affectionate. The I love yous became perfunctory, the kisses fleeting. I tried talking to her. "Is everything okay, Sarah?" I asked one evening as she scrolled through her phone, barely making eye contact. "Fine, David, just busy. Busy living her best life, apparently." The text message confirmed my growing suspicions. Something was definitely off. I could have confronted her then, but I'm not one for rash decisions. I needed proof, solid, undeniable proof, so I started documenting everything. Her late nights, her evasive answers, the unexplained charges on her credit card. I even hired a private investigator. I know it sounds cliché, but I needed to be certain. A week later, the pie delivered. Photos, lots of them. Sarah hand in hand, with a man I'd never seen before, laughing, kissing. The man was older, expensively dressed, and oozed the kind of confidence only money can buy. His name was Richard Harding, a venture capitalist worth millions. The divorce papers arrived shortly after. Sarah wanted everything. The house, the cars, half of my savings. She claimed I was stifling her potential, that she deserved a life of luxury. Her lawyer, a slick, shark-like man named Mr. Thompson, was ruthless. He painted me as an inadequate provider, a boring husband, a roadblock to Sarah's happiness. I refused to be bullied. I hired my own lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Ms. Evans. She was tough, smart, and didn't back down from a fight. "He's trying to bleed you dry, David," she said, reviewing the settlement proposal. "We're not going to let that happen." The divorce was ugly, expensive, and emotionally draining. But in the end, I managed to protect a significant portion of my assets. I kept the house, one of the cars, and a decent chunk of my savings. Sarah, on the other hand, walked away with a considerable sum, enough to finance her best life with Richard Harding. I watched her drive away in her new sports car, a gift from Richard, a smug smile on her face. That was the last time I saw her for a long time. I threw myself into my work. I focused on rebuilding my life. I started going to the gym, eating healthier, and spending time with friends. It wasn't easy. There were days when I felt lost, angry, and alone. But I refused to let Sarah define me. I refused to let her win. Then one evening, about 3 years later, I received a phone call. It was Ms. Evans, my divorce lawyer. "David, I have some interesting news," she said, her voice laced with amusement. "Remember Richard Harding, the venture capitalist?" "Yes. Well, it seems his investments weren't as sound as he claimed. He's been charged with fraud, and his assets have been frozen." "What about Sarah?" I asked, a flicker of hope igniting within me. "She's lost everything. Apparently she invested all her divorce settlement in Harding's ventures. It's all gone." "Living her best life," I muttered, a bitter smile creeping across my face. "Indeed," Ms. Evans said. "She's contacted me wanting to know if there's any way to get the divorce settlement overturned. She claims she was misled by Harding." "And what did you tell her?" "I told her to get another lawyer." I hung up the phone, a wave of satisfaction washing over me. It wasn't happiness exactly, more like vindication. A few months later, I met Emily. She was everything Sarah wasn't: kind, compassionate, and genuine. She was an artist, passionate about her work, and fiercely independent. We fell in love quickly and deeply. We shared our hopes, our dreams, and our fears. We built a relationship based on trust, respect, and mutual admiration. After 2 years of dating, I proposed. She said yes without hesitation. We planned a beautiful wedding, a celebration of our love with family and friends. As the guest list grew, an idea began to form in my mind. An idea that was both petty and deeply satisfying. I decided to invite Mr. Thompson, Sarah's divorce lawyer. I tracked him down through his firm. It wasn't difficult. He was still practicing, still representing wealthy clients in messy divorces. I sent him a formal invitation, complete with a handwritten note. I thought you might enjoy seeing the fruits of your labor. He RSVP'd yes. The wedding day arrived, sunny and bright. Emily looked radiant in her white dress. I stood at the altar, waiting for her, a nervous but excited smile on my face. As Emily walked down the aisle, I saw Mr. Thompson sitting in the back row, looking uncomfortable. He avoided my gaze, fidgeting in his seat. The ceremony was beautiful. We exchanged vows, promising to love and cherish each other for the rest of our lives. During the reception, I made a point of seeking out Mr. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, I said, extending my hand. Thank you for coming. He hesitated for a moment before shaking my hand. Congratulations, David. I appreciate it, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Yes, very much, he said, his eyes darting around the room. I'm glad to hear it, I said. You know, I was thinking about Sarah the other day. His face paled slightly. Oh, yes, I said. I was wondering how she's doing. I heard she lost everything. He cleared his throat. I haven't spoken to her in a while. Really? I said, raising an eyebrow. That's a shame. I'm sure she could use a good lawyer right now. He excused himself and walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Later that evening, as Emily and I danced our first dance, I saw Sarah standing near the entrance. She looked gaunt, her eyes hollow. She was wearing a cheap dress, a far cry from the designer clothes she used to wear. She caught my eye for a moment, her expression a mixture of regret and anger. Then she turned and walked away, disappearing into the night. Some might say my actions were cruel, that I should have taken the high road. But I don't regret a thing. Sarah made her choices, and she had to live with the consequences. And I finally got the closure I needed. I learned a valuable lesson that day. Karma is a patient player, and sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. Hook, seeing her standing there, broke and alone, as I danced with my beautiful wife. Worth more than all the money she tried to take from me. Fast forward a couple of years. Emily and I were thriving. Our life was filled with love, laughter, and adventure. We had a beautiful home, successful careers, and a growing circle of friends. We even started talking about having children. One afternoon, I received an unexpected email. It was from Sarah. David, it read. I know it's been a long time. I need your help. I hesitated for a moment before opening the email. I wasn't sure I wanted to hear what she had to say. She went on to explain that she was struggling to make ends meet. She had taken a job as a waitress, but it wasn't enough to cover her expenses. She was facing eviction and had nowhere else to turn. I know I don't deserve your help, she wrote, but I'm desperate. Please, David, can you find it in your heart to forgive me? I stared at the email, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to delete it and move on. But another part of me felt a flicker of something. Not pity exactly, more like a sense of obligation. After all, we had shared a life together once. We had built a home, made memories, and promised to support each other through thick and thin. I discussed the email with Emily. She listened patiently, without judgment. It's your decision, David, she said. But whatever you choose, I'll support you. After much deliberation, I decided to respond to Sarah. I offered to help her find a job, to connect her with resources that could assist her in getting back on her feet. But I made it clear that I wasn't going to give her any money. She accepted my offer, albeit reluctantly. I spent several weeks helping her with her resume, practicing her interviewing skills, and networking on her behalf. Eventually, she landed a job as a receptionist at a small accounting firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a start. I didn't expect her to thank me. And she didn't, but I knew I had done the right thing. I had extended a hand to someone in need, even though she had wronged me in the past. I learned another valuable lesson during that time. Forgiveness is not about forgetting, it's about letting go of the anger and resentment that holds you back. Hook. I helped her get back on her feet, not because I owed her anything, but because I refused to let her bitterness poison my own happiness. Years passed. Emily and I built a wonderful life together. We had 2 beautiful children, a boy and a girl. We traveled the world, pursued our passions, and supported each other through every challenge. One day I received a phone call from Mr. Thompson, Sarah's divorce lawyer. David, he said, his voice sounding weary. I need to talk to you about Sarah. I hesitated for a moment before responding. What about her? She's not doing well, he said. She's been diagnosed with a serious illness. I felt a pang of sympathy despite everything. What kind of illness? I asked. I'd rather not say, he said. But it's serious. She doesn't have much time left. He went on to explain that Sarah had asked to see me. She wanted to apologize for her past actions and to make amends before she died. I was torn. Part of me wanted to refuse to hold on to the anger and resentment that I had carried for so long, but another part of me knew that I couldn't deny her this final request. I discussed the situation with Emily. She encouraged me to go. "It's the right thing to do, David," she said. "For both of you." I agreed to visit Sarah. I found her in a hospice facility looking frail and weak. She was barely recognizable as the vibrant, ambitious woman I had once known. "David," she said, her voice raspy. "Thank you for coming." I sat down beside her bed. "How are you feeling, Sarah?" "Not good," she said, her eyes filled with pain. "But I'm at peace." She went on to apologize for her past actions. She admitted that she had made a mistake leaving me, that she had been blinded by greed and ambition. "I was wrong, David," she said. "I was so wrong. You were a good husband, a good man. I didn't appreciate what I had." I listened patiently without interrupting. When she was finished, I took her hand. "I forgive you, Sarah," I said. "I forgave you a long time ago." Tears streamed down her face. "Thank you, David," she said. "Thank you." We talked for a while longer, reminiscing about the good times we had shared. We laughed, we cried, and we said our goodbyes. Sarah passed away a few weeks later. I attended her funeral along with a small group of family and friends. As I stood by her graveside, I felt a sense of closure. The anger and resentment that I had carried for so long had finally dissipated. I had forgiven Sarah, and in doing so, I had freed myself. I learned one final lesson that day. Life is too short to hold onto grudges. Forgiveness is not just a gift you give to others, it's a gift you give to yourself. Hook, seeing her finally at peace, knowing that I had played a small part in that peace, was the ultimate victory. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about healing. And that, my friends, is the story of how I invited my ex-wife's divorce lawyer to my wedding. It was a story of betrayal, revenge, forgiveness, and ultimately redemption. It's a story that taught me the importance of resilience, the power of forgiveness, and the true meaning of love. I hope you enjoyed this story. And remember, if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, don't let anger and resentment consume you. Focus on building a better life for yourself, and trust that karma will eventually take care of the rest. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more stories of cheating, justice, and redemption. Until next time, stay strong, stay smart, and stay true to yourself. My name is David, and I'm a man who finally understood that the best revenge is a life well lived, filled with love, happiness, and forgiveness.